Hi, I'm here to do a basic Feldenkrais scan with you. So when you're ready, come to lie on your back, lying all the way down, letting yourself completely come to rest on the floor or the bed, whatever you choose to lie on. And as you allow yourself to settle, notice the contact between you and the surface that you're resting on. Feeling areas of contact at the back of the body and the surface as you breathe. And then bring all of your attention to your right foot, feeling the way that the heel meets the surface and noticing what part of the heel is resting, if it carries the weight of the foot. Then feel the foot and the toes, taking a moment to find each individual toe, noticing the space between, the ease in which you can find the toe. And then bringing your attention to the sole of the foot, the top of the foot, noticing which way the toes are turned, if they're out to the side or up. And then swirl your attention around the right ankle, getting a sense of how it might be lifted slightly from the floor, what angle it feels bent. And then feel your right calf and feel the impression of your calf as though you're resting on a sandy beach and got up to see what mark your calf left in the sand, and notice the shape that the calf makes on the floor or the surface. Getting a sense of the weight of the calf and the shape. And bring your attention now to the right knee, swirling your attention around the right knee. Noticing without judgment and noticing if things start to let go on their own. And then feel your right thigh. Feel any weight of the thigh on the bottom, the shape of the whole thigh, and the length of the thigh from the hip joint to the knee. What's the volume of your thigh? And begin now to sense the right hip joint. And then measure the right leg from the right heel to the right hip joint in your image. What's the length? What do you get a sense of as far as the length of the whole leg from hip joint to heel? What about the width and the shape of the whole leg? Bring your attention now to your left foot, noticing the contact of the heel and what aspect of the heel you rest on. And notice the toes and how they rest, or how they are in the air. And take a moment to notice each toe, as well as the space between the toes, as you breathe. You may begin to get a sense of a difference from one side to the other as we explore the left side. Now coming to the sole of the left foot. You just see what lets go, and you just see what's there without judgment. Top of the left foot. And swirl your attention around the left ankle. noticing where it's lifted and how it's bent. And getting an impression now of your left calf muscle. And again, what is the shape, the impression it leaves on the floor? How much space does it take up, and what does that shape look like? And how is it different from the other side? Swirl your attention around your left knee now, feeling any space between the back of the left knee and the floor. And then bring your attention to the left thigh and notice the volume of the thigh. Any place where it's touching the floor, the whole shape of the thigh, and the length from your hip to your knee. So again, finding the hip joint now on the left, and sensing from the hip joint to the knee, that length, is that different from the right side? And measuring now from the left hip joint all the way down to the left heel, and getting a sense of the length of the left leg, the width of the left leg. Feeling the length of both legs now and the space they take up. And you may notice that one is closer to your middle, or it feels larger or longer in your image. And now bring your attention to the pelvis and notice how it rests. When it's resting flat, it feels very flat. When it's tipped or turned, there's more weight on one buttock. So notice where your weight is. And see what you can allow to sink into the floor here as you breathe. And then begin to trace your attention up the spine, one vertebra at a time. Starting with the lower spine, you'll notice that there are 2 convex and 2 concave curves. So notice as you go up the spine that it curves in one direction and then the other. And feel the amount of space in the lower spine as you begin to travel up the spine, just imagining you could sense each vertebra one at a time, feeling how much you're lifted from the floor here and where the apex of this lift is. Where is the highest point of this arch in the lower back? In what part of your spine? As you continue to travel up, you'll find where the lower spine comes back to meet the ground, somewhere in the area of the chest or lower ribs. And notice how much of your spine is on the ground between this part and as you travel up towards the neck. How much of your spine can you actually sense on the ground in this longest part of your spine area where it has contact? And because it curves in the other direction, it feels flat on the floor. And notice how much of your spine is here as you travel up. And at some point, the vertebra begin to lift again in the area of the neck. And this can begin in the area of C7, which is right at the base of our neck. It's that little place that sticks out. It can begin between the shoulder blades or somewhere else. So notice where you start to arch away from the floor as you travel up your spine in the area now of the neck, and where the highest point is, where your neck is lifted from the floor. And when you get to the top of your spine, notice how the head rests. And if you're on the back of your head, the exact back, meaning the nose is pointed right toward the ceiling. If you're not, just leave it as it is and notice. Now bring your attention to your shoulder blades and your chest, feeling the way the shoulder blades rest on the floor. What does the contact of one shoulder blade feel like versus the other in the back? What shape do they make? What do you sense back there? Can you sense the space between them? What is the distance from one shoulder blade to the other? And then take a moment to sense the right arm and the contact of the right arm, location of the elbow. Notice how the wrist is bent or straight, how the palm is oriented, and feel the palm and the top of the hand, as well as the fingers and the space between, taking a moment to spend with each finger as you notice the distance between one and the next. And just feeling the sensation that's alive inside of the finger as you go one by one. And then feel the length of your right arm, your whole right arm, from your shoulder blade all the way to your fingertips. And then begin to sense the left arm on the floor or the surface and notice its contact, where it bends in the elbow, the space between the arm and the body, and if that's different from the other side. Bringing your attention to your left wrist and noticing how the wrist is either bent or straight, the orientation of your palm, the space between the fingers, and maybe whether they are curled or not. And now get a sense of your left arm from your shoulder blade all the way to your fingertips. And sense your two arms, your right arm from your shoulder blade to your fingertips, and your left arm from your shoulder blade to your fingertips, and notice any differences without judgment, just curiosity. And now feel your whole self resting, the length of your spine, as well as the length of your limbs. And feel the energy around the body, as though you're surrounded by energy that intermingles with the body. And get a shape of your boundaries all around your body, feeling it as one whole organism. Noticing if your contact has shifted since the beginning of the scan in a way that you're more comfortable in the lower back or somewhere else, maybe within your breathing. Thank you for joining me for Feldenkrais scan. I'll see you soon.